is the Apex, the very first wheel released from a brand new EUC company, Nosfet. And unlike the veteran Sherman, which was the last new wheel from a brand new EUC company, the Apex did not receive a warm welcome from the EUC community.
I don't like it. I do not like the feel of it.
The demo unit, this guy right here, was ridden by Marty and Chooch, crashed multiple times, then roundly criticized and straight up hated on by EUC forum posters.
You ugly! You mama say you ugly! Hey!
And as someone who occasionally gets just as much hate online, am I riding too fast or am I over-reporting how fast I'm riding? Make up your mind. I should feel certain kinship towards this misunderstood wheel. Since as grown-up, we all know not to believe everything we read online. No, the earth is not flat and lizard people aren't taking over our government. Not yet, at least. It's time for me to sort out exactly what is the deal with the Nosfet APEX. Is it truly as terrible as everyone make it out to be, or is it just a matter of the wrong wheel at the wrong time? Roll the intro. Roll it. Like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video and help spread the uni gospel. First, a quick shout out to Jason from eWheel, the keeper of the EUC playing through thick and thin, and for providing this demo wheel for review purposes, but as usual, opinion expressed is strictly my own. Those opinion is not a review of the Nosfet APEX, since in its present beaten down state, this demo units no longer accurately represent what you will pull out of a shiny new box if you do decide to buy this wheel. Instead, I want to talk about its bone, how it balances, what's it like to ride, and more importantly, the idea of what they're trying to accomplish with this wheel. And in 2025, the APEX is entering a very different market compared to the previous new EUC company Veteran Leaperkin saw in 2020. 5 years ago, the world was going through the first wave of the pandemic and learning what social distance and work from home really means. Back then, bicycle, scooters, electric unicycle, and other electric personal vehicles were the only means of personal freedom. That, coupled with supply constraint and general shortages, turned the Sherman into an overnight sensation, and not just in the EUC community, but with the larger world. I mean, Kuchi's original review of the Sherman garnered millions of views and probably converted more EUC riders than just about anything else ever since. But 5 years later, things are very different. Trump is in office, electric and renewable, and DEIs are suddenly no longer cool. And in case if you aren't aware, both EUC video views and sales are down, and it's once again down to us enthusiasts to try to keep the dream alive. And in some way, the Nosfet APEX represents this new reality. Designed by the same engineer who created the S22, the S18, and the OG original suspension wheel Emotion V11, and in collaboration with Jack from the YouTube channel Electric Drink, a longtime EUC community member, this represented their combined vision of where EUC is going next. And what they imagined was a suspension electric unicycle capable of radically changing its ride geometry based on ride conditions. Set it up with maximum suspension travel if you're planning to hit gnarly off-road trails and big jumps, or drop it all the way down for maximum stability and responsiveness for twisty track rides. The addition of suspension has been both a blessing and a curse for EUCs. The trade-off from comfort and ability to deal with rough conditions come at the cost of taller pedals, reduced wheel rigidity, and disengage the pedal from the axle, which combined all resulted in a looser, less responsive, and less stable ride. If you rode nothing but suspension wheels, find the chance to test ride a non-suspension wheel, and I think you'll be surprised at how different it feels aside from the lack of cushiness. And for years, many old school riders and some of the competitive EUC racer has been clamoring for the EUC company to release a modern, high-performance, non-suspension electric unicycle. And EUC company has been working just as hard to ignore those requests.
Nothing for you!
assuming rightly or wrongly that nobody actually wants to buy a non-suspension wheel. Some rider has gone as far as purchasing custom suspension delete wheel, as in suspension wheel with its suspension removed at the factory. But since those wheels were designed to have suspension, I am personally skeptical as to how well they will work without it. So the Nosfet APEX is as close as we will get to a high voltage non-suspension electric unicycle that is actually designed to be ridden that way. But how well does it actually serve that dual purpose? Well, let's start by talking about the more conventional portion of this design, the suspension. Aside from the clever geared height adjustment portion, this design look and ride like other lever arm based suspensions from the Go and Kingson. The geometry seems to offer less progression and rely more on the suspension piston itself, with both air and coil shocks offered as purchasing options. This particular demo wheel runs the air shock, which hasn't really performed very well and always feel harsh regardless of whatever setting and pressure I set it to. But as mentioned, this wheel really been put through the torture test and is a pre-production model, so it was pretty rough to begin with. But the slider does appear to be rather exposed. Quick shout out to Ted for bringing this demo units back from the dead. After Chooch had some fun with it in the dirt, the suspension was pretty much completely stuck. So my suspicion is that similar to the Kingson S22, this is going to be a wheel that will require a good bit of customization and maybe even for you to swap out the stock shock for something a little bit better. And the unfortunate fact is that if you're simply looking for a great suspension equipped electric unicycle, I suspect there are probably better choices, like the APEX sibling Leaperkin wheel, which it shares many part with, the Lynx, and one of the best suspension equipped EUC you can buy. It'll work beautifully right out of the box with little drama. But what the Lynx cannot do is this. You undo these screws, flip the lever up. Sometimes you have to jiggle a little bit. Pull the suspension in, lock it back down, and you're done. But now that I got a hang of it, I could make the swap in less than a minute and on the side of a road. So the claim for quick, toolless, on-the-fly suspension high adjustment is at least real. But how well does it ride without suspension? To answer that question, we need to get outside of the city to somewhere with a bit more room. Which brings us to Ridden, Virginia, suburb to DC and the data center capital of the world. If you are wondering why I seem to be releasing a lot less videos lately, I got a new job that now require a lot more traveling. And no, I'm not a full-time YouTuber. But the move out to Virginia also forced me to acclimate to a very different riding conditions. As crazy as New York City traffic seems to be, the speed generally are slower, combination of not a lot of space and a whole lot of cars. But here in Virginia, the opposite is true. The roads are smooth and wide and cars few and far between. And despite the 35 miles per hour speed limit, nobody drive that speed, and if you want to keep up, then 45 plus is what you gotta do. My regular day-to-day is the GT Pro, which keep up just fine, and I have also taken the Sherman L on my morning commute, and it's able to hold 50 without feeling too sketchy, even in a crosswind, mostly due to its weight, size, and balance. Little things matter a whole lot at this kind of speed on a unicycle, and size and weight translate to more stability, better leverage and control, but so does the height of the wheel. On just about anything, the lower the weight it is to the ground, the more stable you are, and it is definitely true for EUC as well. And the APEX in its normal high suspension mode is also subject to the same limitation. There's a reason why I usually do my speed run in the cutout tunnel because of the reduced crosswind, and outside of that, with more unpredictable conditions, I can hit 45-50 on regular rides, but rarely hold that speed. But for my 45 plus commute in Virginia, that is exactly what I had to do. And consumption is still a major concern since you take a significant hit on range when you are pushing the motor this hard. I can just about squeeze 2 trips out of the GT Pro on my 6 miles each way commute from a full charge. That's less than 50% of what I typically get from my regular ride in New York City. And it's about the same for APEX, and definitely at a lower speed, and the APEX is also a bit short on power. With only 3200 watt motor on tap, I visibly struggle when I ride against a 25 miles per hour headwind. Not fun. And these are pretty extreme conditions, and for the GT Pro in Sherman L, you do pay a significant price in weight and size. These are not wheels easy to handle at lower speed nor pleasant to carry up a set of stairs, and that make what the Apex can do with its full suspension delete a very interesting and compelling option. And I can't tell you that the Apex is a great wheel because unfortunately I don't think this beaten down demo units really represent what the full production run units is actually capable of and will ride like. But I'd be pretty bummed to see the fast suspension adjustment option die with this wheel.
I didn't see it. I never knew.
So what do you think of the Apex and the future of Nosfet? And will you ever buy a non-suspension wheel? Let me know in the comment section below. And you know what? Once again, I rambled on too long and somehow managed to waste another 20 minutes of your life, but I hope you enjoyed it. Shout out to my supporter on Patreon. Please check out the link in the video description below if you enjoy and like to support my work. And as always, as much as we all love the electric unicycle, the only way for us to get better wheel is to grow as a community. So tell your friend, teach them how to ride and get them hooked. Until the next video, thank you.